One thing I always say is that God has his ways of sitting your ass down. And I always say that to my friends when things happen. I've seen it happen in the form of incarceration. Sometimes for people, it's even in death. You know what I mean? If you don't listen, it might end up in death. It can be injuries, things like that. You know what I mean? Um, However it may be, God does have an interesting way of sitting your ass down. And I said that a lot for years. Y'all, excuse me, it's hella cold out here. I said that a lot for years until my season came. And my season happened to come during my pregnancy. Mind you, God knew that was the perfect way to get my ass because I didn't even think I can get pregnant. I didn't think that I could successfully carry out a pregnancy due to my issues with infertility. I lost my oldest born. I had a few miscarriages. The last miscarriage I had was brutal, and it scarred me. So I was about to get my tubes tied at 30. Like, fuck that shit. I'm not doing this. I'm not about to keep going through this disappointment. Um, Around the time that I had my son, around the time I got pregnant, I was moving real crazy. The shutdown of 2020 was wild, son. Ooh, 11:11 on the clock. What's happening? Good morning, good morning. Make a wish, motherfucker. I wish a motherfucker would. Nah. And I was moving crazy. Like, the world was shut down. The hustler in me still needed to provide, so I was taking risks. I was moving. Man, it was nice though. It was fun. I was partying and shit like that. I was doing too much. When I'm not productive, I fuck off. I swear to God, I am the exact polarity of myself. I am so structured because the opposite of me is a monster, okay? A real Muppet out here. But, yeah, so once there was different signs that tipped me off to this pregnancy being the one. And, like, first sign was the due date. You know what I mean? Like, it was my lucky number and my favorite number, I was like, oh shit, this one gonna stick, but like I mentioned in a few videos, I spent my pregnancy homeless. So I was getting out of a domestic violence situation. I didn't have anywhere to go, and I could have hustled. I wasn't showing yet, even though I've always been against that. So that's why that was out for me. And no disrespect to any woman that gets it in, who, how, and where, because, you know what I mean? Like, I get it, but I'm stubborn, and I'm like, when it comes down to my values and promises that I make to myself and shit like that, if I got control over it, I'm not about to bend on none of that shit. Either way, I had to go put myself in a very uncomfortable situation. And I was in a battered women's shelter for up until my son was 2 months. And I'm not proud of that. I lived a very, luxurious life prior to the shutdown. I lived very comfortably, you know what I mean? I was a dancer, and I was very well taken care of, you know what I mean? I was like a real kept bitch back then, I don't take none of that shit back. I moved home and everything changed. But I had to get rid of, that was the ego death of my journey. That 8 months that I sat in that room, and I was blessed. I had my own room that had a key to it. You know what I mean? I didn't have to share a room with anybody. It wasn't like one of those shelters and shit. They're out there, but I wasn't in one of those, My time of being unhoused wasn't as bad as a lot of people's, and I'm very happy, blessed, and grateful for that, But in that time, I sat in that room and I cried a lot. I felt very embarrassed. I couldn't be in the common area of that place because it just reminded me of where I was. Like, how in the fuck did you go from having a 4-bedroom house in the hills, driving a beautiful ass white Lexus, to sitting in this bitch doing group therapy with bitches that ain't never had anything? They don't even know how to fill out an application. What went wrong? And this is really real dialogue, you know what I mean? Like, I really was forced to have that inner dialogue with myself, to sit with myself. And that was the result of me running from myself, because prior to that, like I said, I was moving mean. I was running from myself though. I had my own spot. I lived in the fucking suburbs. You know what I mean? Like, why was I choosing to do all these things with these people when I was grieving, I was hurt, I felt alone? You know what I mean? I dealt with a lot of shit for the sake of not being by myself, even though I still, the ending result was always me feeling alone. You know? Like, there's no worse feeling than sitting in a room full of people and feeling by yourself. And that's where I feel like I've developed, like, in my healing journey and shit like that, as it's continued, I'd rather be by myself. You know? Like, it hurts more to be sitting next to you, not feeling validated, than to sit by myself in my own wholeness. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm a vibe. I am a fucking vibe. So, I'm saying all that to say, right? Like, the main message about how God has his funny ways of making your ass sit down, right? In that time, like I said, that initiated my healing journey, because I knew I was pregnant. I knew that I didn't want my child to suffer anything that I suffered as a child, you know? Like, my childhood was lit as a kid because we were outside, like, you know, I did the things that a kid did, but what was going on in the home, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't happy. I was very miserable, you know? Like, I lost my mom at a really young age. Like, I had to deal with living with different family members, being in fucking foster care and shit like that. It wasn't stable. So, I didn't want that. Like, I didn't want my son to experience the pain of being nobody's kid. I didn't want my son to experience my projections. You know what I mean? So I took it upon myself. Like, I'm in these group sessions, I'm in these mom groups, I'm talking to an actual therapist. You know, I started, like, and I found a career. I turned my life around, you know, for the sake of my child and myself. You know what I mean? But he initiated it. He initiated it, or she, or, you know, because God really is a woman. We create life. How is God not a woman? We can debate about that. It don't even need to be a debate. It's an energy. You know what I mean? The divine, our source is an energy. Anyway, the reason why I'm reflecting on that is because I just realized that I kind of went through another form of that initiation recently, where I got into a little incident on the highway, and it put me out of a vehicle for a few months, you know? And in that time, since I didn't have a car, I could Uber to the daycare, but it's still walking distance, so that initiated my walks. Then me walking back home, now I'm going live, you know? And I'm channeling. And I always was insecure about whether I was good at channeling or not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like you see some people that you, like, view as great, and it makes you, like, kind of disregard your own talents, which we really need to stop doing, because you're just as great and nothing is different from you and them. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I noticed that. Like, it was like because my headphones were in that car that got towed. I got a DUI, guys. If I can be transparent. Okay. But my headphones were in the car. And I never bought another set of headphones. And if to know me is to know the love that I have with my headphones. Like, I blocked everything out. Like, so I have no headphones. So that caused me to have to listen. So if y'all following where I'm going with this, right? This was the initiation of God sitting my ass down. And in that time when you are being sat down, there's a lot of listening that comes along with that shit. And in the listening, there are questions that are being asked, and there are answers that are being given, and then there's initiation that is being taken. You know, if you take heed, because we all have free will, and you know, we hear messages from the darkness and the light. You know what I mean? A lot of people can make better decisions. They just choose not to. They choose to take on the darker. They choose the darker path, and that's them. You know. You just got to pray for him. But yeah, it's just like in that time though, there's listening, there's questions being asked, there's answers, and then from there's initiation that's being taken. And from there you birth a new life, you know? And that can even be like in real life, just even with like in labor, you know what I mean? Fertility, you know? So just don't. I guess like I'm bringing this up because like it was just it. See, now I'm getting I'm getting tongue tied. I'm sorry, y'all. I get like that after I get a big ass channel, but there's a lot of prophecy that comes in listening, you know. And I just feel like listen while you can before God forces you to, because that's the thing too. Because we get messages all day. We get messages every day. We get these synchronicities every fucking day, all day. And people do not take heed. And then, boom, something big happens, and you're wondering where God was. God was warning your ass the whole fucking time. You just chose to ignore it, you know? I'm sorry, I just got annoyed. Because, like, I was thinking about that last night, about how people make these decisions and then be like, where was God at? Like, even if it happened to you as a child, it wasn't God's fault. It was your parents' fault for putting you in that, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't listen. You know, like, it's people do things that aren't of the divine and then blame the divine for it, and that pisses me off, you know. So I'm saying that to say, take heed to these messages that you get, take heed to the guidance that you get. It's not for nothing. A lot of these bright ideas that y'all got, I keep getting this bright ideas card in one of my tarot decks, y'all. Somebody is ignoring messages. Somebody isn't listening to their spirit. Somebody isn't listening to their intuition. And then you're blaming others. You're not taking accountability of the fact that you aren't fucking listening. Don't let your inability and your stubbornness result in something major happening because you didn't heed the warning, because you were too stubborn, because your ego was too much in the way, you know? Because I'm going to end it how I started it. God has its way of sitting your ass down. You know what I mean? So, I'm going to leave that there. 12:02 on the timer. It's freezing out here, y'all. My fingertips are like, so I'm about to take it home. Probably run more laps to try to like warm up. But I'm gonna be back on with y'all this afternoon. I just you know, I gotta serve y'all some of this soul food in the morning, this daily dose. You already know. And for those who don't know, first through last of all, if you made it this far, we cousins now. Okay, like the video, subscribe to Dreezy and T, where you can find more of me. And I am Dreez. I am your girl, Dreez the Black Barbie Dreez, the talented intuitive, the hostess of spirituality, leading all you little bitches to the promised land, myself included. And I'm gonna catch y'all this afternoon for that read. Okay? I love you guys. Bye bye.